Welcome to Plans Are Booked, a podcast for every reader. I'm Molly Geller.
I'm Stephanie Blackburn.
And we are a duo today for chapter 125. We are going to be talking about a book that we both are just really in love with. It's called Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About by Isabel Klee. But before we get into our deep dive on that and all things pet parent, what's going on?
Well, I am drinking coffee out of a takeout soup container from the Thai place around the corner. So that's how my morning is going.
Yes, chef.
It's a lot of coffee. I just came straight from therapy, so I'm feeling a little.
Right before we talk about this book,
literally went straight from therapy to this, which I mean, it was the only way I was going to be able to work this day, because after this, I am going to my dad's house because he, as a man in his 70s who lives alone in my childhood home, he likes to drive golf balls off of the front porch, and one of them ricocheted and went straight into a window. Our greenhouse is 2 floors, or not 2 floors, but it's like 2 levels. Okay. And of course, this is one of the higher level windows, and we are going to have to replace that this afternoon. He was like, bring long sleeves and gloves, in case like glass falls on me and like potentially cuts me. So that is my afternoon activity.
I would say that is like Father's Day gift extended. Like you're just keeping the good vibes rolling at his request.
Yeah, well, we're getting the house ready to sell. So,
right.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, it literally is like a golf ball size hole in the window.
I feel like that's like a scene from one of the movies from our childhood.
Oh my God. It's like a Caddyshack moment. Like
totally.
I didn't ask, but I mean, he's a good golf player. So I'm pretty sure that it ricocheted off of one of the trees and came back and smashed the window. So... yeah, other than that, I've been watching a lot of FIFA.
Oh, yeah, World Cup.
And since I don't have Fox, I've been watching it on Copa Mundial. So,
que bueno.
Spanish constantly. And yeah, that's pretty much all that's been going on with me. What about you?
Well, as those who are watching us can see, I am not in my usual spot today. I am up in New Hampshire with my family for our annual Lake Week vacation. Every summer we come to Lake Winnipesaukee and we have just what I like to call like old school fun. We do very minimal screens of any kind. We are swimming. We are playing sports. We are grilling. We are doing s'mores. We are going to the town ice cream place. I will say one of my favorite parts of this tradition is we always do at least one day where we bop around the downtown area. And Wolfboro has an awesome indie bookstore. It's called the Country Bookseller. I love the way they merchandise the store. They have like a beautiful cookbook section. They have a section all about local authors and getting to know the state of New Hampshire. Their romance section, I regret to inform, shrunk from last summer to this summer.
The picture you posted, I was like, is that the extent of it?
I turned the corner to where it was last year and it wasn't in the same spot. And I thought, oh, interesting. Maybe they moved it somewhere bigger. No, it shrunk. And they had all the ones you would expect for this summer, the big sellers, but then in the more sort of evergreen, always there section, the stuff was quite old, like from many, many years ago. And I didn't wind up buying anything new, mostly because I'd read a lot of what they already had, but they had this hilarious sign in what used to be the sci-fi fantasy section that said, "Romantasy has taken over this entire section. If you're looking for more traditional sci-fi, go around the corner." And it's true. They built out this huge 6-shelf bookcase with all romantasy reads. And I thought, okay, they're like leaning in with the, ACOTAR of it all. And it's just interesting because I've been going there now for a decade to see how they keep changing things. In the end, I always buy something because, of course, I want to support them. In the end, I wound up actually buying stationery, not a book, because I already had a lot of the books that they were featuring as, new hardcover or new paperback. But they have a wonderful kids section. They do special events. So if you're going to be in the Winnipesaukee area this summer or in the future, definitely pop in there. Everyone that works there is so wonderful and friendly. And of course, you can order books through them. Perhaps Golden Hour by Stephanie Blackburn. You can also order anything there. So if you don't see it and you want it, they'll make that happen for you. So Shout out to the country bookseller. I love doing that every year. And it's been wonderful being up here, even though obviously I'm still connected to the internet or I wouldn't be able to do this. It is mostly an unplugged time, which feels really nice. I don't do that often. So I've been enjoying it. And I've already had 2 massive ice creams from the place in town called Bailey's Bubble. I'm sure there will be more. Last night, actually, when we were waiting in line, there was a family in line in front of us who had a dog that looked like if my dog Scout had been a girl and was slightly blonder. It was like a it felt like a cousin of his or something. Like, and I just couldn't help but smile because I used to bring him here with me every single year. And I was like, oh my God, like a little Scout lookalike waiting in line in front of me. It was just very adorable. So shout out to all of the teenagers also at Bailey's Bubble who are scooping ice cream for families for like 10 hours a day.
That was my first job ever. At 14, I worked at the local Doc Davis ice cream in Pepperell, Massachusetts, scooping ice cream, and you'd come home with like sticky ice cream plaster
all the way to your elbow. All the way to your elbow. 100%. 100%. Yeah. So I'm in vacation land and having a great time, and I'm excited about the book that we're going to talk about today. As mentioned before, we are talking about Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About by Isabel Klee. This cover actually features her rescue dog Simon, as well as another dog that she fostered, Tiki. I have kind of a parasocial relationship with Isabel. She came onto my radar, I want to say like maybe 7 years ago. She was actually the assistant to Elias Friedman, who runs the Instagram account The Doggist. And she was fostering this dog, Simon, that wound up becoming a foster fail, and she decided to keep him. And she started her own account at Simon Sits, which Steph and I are both loyal followers of. And in the beginning, it was about, training a puppy and becoming a full-time dog mom. And then eventually it morphed into talking about advocating for animals, the importance of fostering. And she started heavily documenting all of the dogs that she was fostering herself. And one of the dogs, Tiki, became unbelievably famous. She blew up on Instagram and TikTok, and hence why he's also on the book cover. He was such a big part of her life. And she's really made it possible for especially dogs who are, quote, undesirable or special needs or have medical, things that need to be considerations for their future families. She has fostered dogs who have been in wheelchairs. She has fostered dogs who have had eyesight problems. She has fostered dogs who are deeply fearful. She has fostered dogs where they've gone through surgeries, eye surgeries, ear surgeries, leg surgeries. She is really an angel on earth. And I will say she was working in this job that she had had for many, many years, and she was unexpectedly let go. And she was lucky to have this big following on social media. And she decided to really focus on content creation. And she started a Substack where she was writing essays. And someone emailed her and said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And from all of her focus on her online presence and all of the beautiful content she was making came this opportunity to publish something. And the result is a book of essays that I think are unbelievably beautiful. And I will admit, I had seen so much of her and I had listened to her voice so much, I wasn't sure that anything in here would feel new. And I was worried about that because I'd been such a close follower. It's like a weird thing to say, but I was or maybe really loyal follower. I felt like I knew all the rescue dogs. I knew all their stories. I have to say, I was blown away by the amount of new information in here, how vulnerable she was about her personal life, about her relationships before her current fiance, about mistakes that she made, about detours she took in her college career, many things. And so I would say to anyone who's also already an Isabel fan and you've already followed her, you need to read this book. It's way more in depth than what I thought we were going to get. And the writing is so beautiful and arresting in a way that I wasn't fully prepared for because so much of what we see from her is shorter form. I would love to hear your impressions because I know you were a loyal follower too and probably came to it with your own thoughts about what might be in there.
I want to start off with my one and only gripe.
Go for
it.
Just
to get that out of the way.
Yeah, go for it.
So she went to Ithaca for her first year,
Right.
and she said something that I kind of took as if she had slapped me and was like, "How dare you?" She wrote, "Despite the buzzy downtown area with tons of bars and restaurants, Ithaca is often referred to as the most depressing college town in America. Isabel, I love you, but no, no one has ever said that. I take offense."
In fact, the merch says Ithaca is gorgeous.
I thought about wearing one of my Ithaca outfits today, but I just. Okay, but moving beyond that, I think I knew she was going to be a good writer because her voiceovers, the last like 4 or so years, you could tell that she had clearly like sat down at a computer and poured her heart into whatever like 2 minute video that she was overlaying her voice onto. It was done in such like a poetic, a little bit melodic way that I was like, oh, she's actually a really good writer. So that was like my first inkling that like this was going to be good. I knew some of her personal life with what she shared, but like not the level of honesty that she ends up sharing. I mean, we know that she shares the good, the bad, and the ugly of dogs. Like she is not hiding any of the bad things that happen with her dogs. I can't remember the dog who she took out on a walk. This was in the last like 6 months, and it like attacked a dog. Do
Yes,
you
yes.
remember? It attacked a dog that was like walking past, and she was crying on the video. Like she is always honest, but I wasn't expecting this level of honesty in her past relationships. I thought, whoa, she's just given us everything. There's no like veiled, you know. What I do want to say is I think this book is for her loyal followers. You know, there are some people who probably have a following and get approached for a book and decide, I'm going to make this, or maybe it's the editor who makes them change it. I'm going to make this for like the masses so that you can be a non follower and pick up this book and love it. But I think this book, the reason it lands so like it, oh God, like, I mean, I cried multiple times through it, is
Oh, I
because
cried the whole time.
she wrote this book for the people who have been following her for years. Like it wasn't made to be for everybody. It was made for the people who have stuck by her type thing.
I do think it is a gift to the loyal followers, especially. So Isabel's fiance's name is Jacob, and in her community, he's called Mr. Isabel. And I knew a lot about their relationship from what she had shared, and especially he was running the marathon in support of Muddy Paws Rescue, which they're both very passionate about in New York City. And so they were doing a lot of sharing in advance of him running the race, and it turns out that he was planning to propose to her at the end of the race. So, we knew a lot of those things. But she talks about a breakup that they had midway through, where she moves out of the apartment that they were sharing together with a friend. And I never knew that that happened. And then she talks about, her parents sort of saying, like, what are you doing? This guy really loves you. Like, are you sure? And talking through things with her therapist. And I just felt like she really was so raw and vulnerable about that choice and all the things that she discovered about herself while they were apart, how much it meant to her when they got back together. And I am going to spoil this one thing because it's so beautiful that I can't not share it. So if you don't want to hear this, just skip ahead like 60 seconds. At one point while they're broken up, Jacob goes on a trip to the Grand Canyon, and they were supposed to be on that trip together. And he sends her a postcard of the Grand Canyon. On the back, it says, even at the end of the earth, it's still you. And when he proposed to her, the ring is inscribed with, it's still you. And I got to that part with the postcard. I thought I was already like deceased and I would need to be resuscitated from the romance of that gesture. But then that he put it into the engagement ring, he's just next level adoring of her. And also, even when she was unsure, he was always sure. And I think that steadiness is something that she needed. And you get that from reading about her past relationships, friendships, and romantic relationships, and even the college thing, leaving Ithaca, going to Manhattan, changing schools, living with her parents, living in apartments, living with her parents again. I think if you are a new follower to Isabel, let's say you joined in the past 6 months, her book tour and that part of her life looks very glamorous. And like at the snap of an email, everything changed. And it did. But there was so much hard work both personally and professionally, to get to this place. A lot of people comment on her videos, we made the right person famous. I think that every single time. I think she is so grateful for every
Mhm.
single minute of this, for everything she went through. And she makes it clear to her followers constantly that she knows this could all vanish anytime,
Mhm.
and that she wants to make the most of her time in the spotlight, raise as much money as possible for animal rescue, give as much visibility to dogs who need more help to get adopted. Like, she's really
Mhm.
focused on the right things, I think.
Mhm.
And it was a joy to buy this book in hardcover and contribute into her rise, because she really struggled to get to
Mhm.
the place where all these good things are now happening. And for those who are following her in real time, this is not a spoiler, it's everywhere. Her dog Simon has cancer, and she's going through this very challenging time trying to give him the best final chapter possible. And when she shared that with her community, I couldn't help but think how painful that she's reached this place of joy and happiness and professional contentment in the universe through this deeply painful curveball. It
Mhm.
feels so cruel that when she's reached this place of joy, that this diagnosis would exist alongside it. And I know, you and I were talking about it when she announced it, like, oh my God, did you see this? Did you see this? I think all the dog moms of the internet who love Simon and love her, it felt like we all got the diagnosis together because we've been following them for so long. And I think it's so brave that she's sharing this. Like,
Mhm.
she could say, I'm going to step away from sharing stuff about Simon, but she isn't. She's like walking into the fire and saying part of this is showing people what it's really like, all the way until whenever the final day is. And I think that's incredible.
Mhm. I want to talk about the New York of it all
Yeah.
because she has a way of sharing the good and the bad. I mean, if you love New York, you love New York. We love New York. But it was like she had recreated the romance that I felt the first time I watched Sex in the City, where I was just like, oh, God, that city. So I just want to read a little bit, which also gives you a little perspective on her writing, but also the New York of it all. New York City was not meant for everyone. It's always changing, evolving. A watercolor brought to life. Its people and voices, and anger and lust. It's an energy you can touch. Among the streets filled with garbage, the crowded subway cars, and the cockroaches, there is a beauty that not everyone can see. It comes in the sun rising between skyscrapers, a man playing the saxophone in Central Park, on a perfect fall day, and how every person here is invited to be exactly who they are. It's in the screams and the laughter, the complete spectrum of love and emotions pumping through each person and building. New York is for the people who feel. New York is for the people who want it all, the good and the bad, because the bad makes the good days better.
I love that. I love that. On a related note, she also talks about early girlhood, like those early 20s. And I just want to read a little section that I was like, isn't this the truest thing? It says, I need to give him my number, I said, an out of character statement for me. In fact, I had never given someone my number unprompted before. I took a napkin and wrote my number on it. I stared at it and crumpled it up. The numbers looked too weird. I tried again and again and again. Finally, after many attempts, I was satisfied with my handwriting and message. I took a deep breath, and Crystal gave me a shove of encouragement. I turned to head over to the counter and knocked right into the very same man I was obsessing over. Hi, he said, a loose smile hanging on his lips. Hi, I said back. I wanted to ask for your number before you left, he said. He pushed his dark hair out of his hopeful eyes, and I was sure my heart thumped loud enough for him to hear. I nervously shoved the napkin into his hands. He turned it over and grinned. Crystal and I practically ran out of the restaurant, mostly because we were now ridiculously late for our movie, but also because I was high on the aching dizziness that comes with a new romantic prospect. She knocked into my shoulder as we crossed the street, and we erupted into giggles. We now had a new character in our stories, and I had a new boy to obsess over.
Who hasn't left their number on a napkin for their server?
True. And also that idea of like, like running
Mhm.
out of the bar is so relatable. And also, I always think about how on my first day at Wheaton College, there's a very handsome boy that I saw in the bookstore when we were all buying our textbooks. And for the rest of the year, he was just bookstore boy because we didn't know his name, but we would like see him walking across campus or we'd see him in the dining hall and we'd be like, oh my God, it's the bookstore boy. It's like in that chapter of your life, everybody gets a nickname, everybody has an origin story. It's just this joyful time where everything feels exciting and new. And I feel like she captured that so beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to go back to you were talking about her level of honesty.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually just a few pages after that bit that I just read where she's talking about one of her early long-term boyfriends. And he's admitting something really intense to her early on in their relationship. And he said, I really didn't want this to be the first thing you learned about me. He started with a hesitant look. But I live at a halfway house down the street from the 36th Avenue station. And there it was, all spelled out on the tiny cafe table between us. In a perfect world, I would have gotten to know him first, where he grew up, Maine, what his mom did for work, nurse, what his dad was like, dead, what his favorite color was, blue. But I now knew the two fundamental truths about this man in front of me. His name was Will, and he was a drug addict. It was my chance to back out, to respectfully walk away with no hard feelings. But as I stared at this man in front of me, so open and raw and beautiful, I knew I wasn't going to. I was going to love him, and it wasn't even my choice. I hadn't loved anyone before. I'd experienced my first relationship, but suddenly that felt so small, so meaningless. Somehow it made sense that this would be my first love, my first real love, someone so complex, a man who was soft and hard and filled with shadows. It was the depth I was craving, and I was ready to jump in, eyes closed. I reached for his hand over the table. He relaxed slightly, his gaze softening. It was a non-verbal agreement. This is fine. I accept you if you accept me. I will love you even when it doesn't make any sense. We spent the next 2 years burning each other to the ground. I mean, that sentence, this is one of her gifts, I think, in her writing. Not only the rhythm, like you can hear it. And as I was just reading it out loud, the rhythm of the prose, she has a way of doing that mic drop, final sentence. And when she was writing on Substack, same thing. You'd get to that final sentence to be like, oh my God, please tell me there's going to be another post.
She pulls you in and softens you, and then it's...
and she hits you across the face. Yeah. Oh, I did also want to say, I feel like my thoughts are jumbled because I love this book so much. I don't want to forget anything. You and I had talked about the way that the timeline goes in this, in this book. So those of us who are loyal followers knew the order of the foster dogs that she had welcomed into her home. As it turns out, she and probably an editor made a decision to match the stories of the foster dogs thematically to the life stories she was going to share instead of going in chronological order. And I think for those of us who had always followed along, it was a bit confusing.
It was jarring for me. I was like, wait, that didn't happen at that time, did it? Like I second guessed myself to be like, was that happening at the same time?
Exactly. The dogs that we knew she and Jacob had fostered together were appearing in moments where she hadn't yet met Jacob. And because we're such big readers and because you're a writer and you organize your own work, I think we figured out what was happening pretty quickly. Yeah. But it felt sort of like, shoot, like this is taking me out of the moment a little bit because...
I also think that like if you were not someone who followed, you might then mistakenly think that that dog was happening at the same time as what she's talking about in her personal life. I don't know that there would have been a way to sort of make it like an easier bridge to explain why that dog. I think for me, it was just very jarring because I, you know, we've become so parasocial.
Totally.
That it like, yeah, you're right. It like brought me out of the bit for like, I would read a chapter and be so ensconced in that. I mean, your 20s, the like friendships of it. Like I was all in on the story being told. And then to be like, and now we're taking you to like this past year.
It was a bit odd. And I'm sure that in the conversation, I mean, I'd love to get her opinion on this. And if we get lucky enough to ever interview her or meet her, we can ask her. But I think there must have been a point in time where they decided thematic connection felt more important than chronological order. And I'm sure Isabel herself probably said, but people who know the stories are going to know that like For example, Poutine is one of the dogs she talks about
Mhm.
really early on, which did not happen until way later.
Mhm.
And it did take me out of the moment a bit where I was like, wait a second, that wasn't
Mhm.
then.
Mhm.
And also, she's in the very beginning of the chronological part of her telling the story of her young adulthood. She doesn't even have Simon yet. So
Mhm.
when she's talking about dogs we
Mhm.
know she fostered alongside Simon, it's
Yeah,
sort
I
of,
got confused.
yeah, it was confusing. Speaking of Simon, I have many passages I would like to read about them, but the one that really caught my attention the most of all of the ones that she shared says, I wandered through the aisles of the pet store before choosing a collar for him. It was green with little orange foxes on it. I walked to the kiosk and chose a green tag, placing it into the machine and typing in his new name, Simon. The tag popped out a few minutes later. On the front, his name, on the back, my name and phone number. It was a simple, tiny act, one that only cost me $10, but it felt like the ground was moving underneath me. Plates were shifting into place as I fastened the clasp around his neck. Suddenly, this dog was mine forever, for every day he had left on earth. We were bound by a love and a metal tag, our names carved as an oath to each other. That is exactly how I felt when I got the tag for Scout. I remember thinking, I could just do this. Like, I could just stand
Mhm.
at this machine and print his name and my phone number, and like, poof, we're official.
Mhm.
And it's true. You just stand at this machine inside of, in my case, a Petco. And then all of a sudden, your dog is branded as yours and you're walking out together and it's official. And it's this tiny behavioral moment for you as the
Mhm.
human, but it's such a huge like commitment of your heart. And she summarized that, I think, more poetically than I ever could.
Mhm. Every time I've been handed an animal, either one that I adopted or one that I was fostering, I had this feeling of like they're just letting me. They're letting me take this animal like it's now my responsibility. Who decided that it was it's like such a small thing but also a big thing, and it carries this like weight. Like, I mean, I have Callie's dog tag up
Yes.
there, which is
Yes.
just like I remember printing that and being like, she's mine. Like,
Totally.
who decided I'm old enough and mature enough to like take
Yes.
care of another animal?
Right. You're just like standing at the machine in Petco and you're like, we're doing this. Like
Yep.
it's so crazy. And also, I know listeners, we don't usually read these many passages but in an episode, but I just can't stop because I think this is like unbelievable. She writes about being a dog mom during COVID, which also
Mhm.
for me was a hugely like Scout and I feel like our relationship got like 10x deeper because we were together 24/7. And she says, I can't believe there are people who don't have dogs right now. I said to my friend over FaceTime one night as I folded my clothes. I swear he's the only thing getting me through this because I was never really alone, not once. Simon woke me up every morning with soft kisses on my nose and a quiet grumble. He'd sprint downstairs as I brushed my teeth, washed my face, and ran a brush through my hair. I'd find him waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs, sitting patiently, his tail swishing on the hardwood floor. Come on, I'd say, walking into the kitchen. He'd circled my legs as I prepared his food so many times that it made me dizzy if I watched for too long. Little shark circles while he waited for his breakfast. I'd place his epilepsy pills in his food, place the bowl down. He'd wait for the release word, a line of drool falling onto the floor. Okay. He'd run eagerly, devouring his meal in a few short minutes. Then came his walk, which was the only true joy I had during those endless, excruciating weeks. Going on walks was the only time we were allowed to leave our houses, and walking Simon quickly became the highlight of my days. We would go on long, meandering strolls around the neighborhood, filling our lungs with crisp air, letting the sun warm our faces. Simon would trot happily by my side, occasionally looking up at me with glittering eyes and a huge smile. We'd spend the rest of the day together, every moment, every meal, every mundane task, and we were side by side partners through it all. That is the story of everyone who had a dog during COVID. You couldn't see your family, you couldn't see, especially her. She in New York was on the fiercest of lockdowns. Those walks were really the only contact with the outside world. And I used to feel like, especially in March, April, May, seeing the season change reminded me that the world was still moving forward, even though it
Mhm.
felt like we were stuck on pause. And had I not had a dog, I never would have seen that.
Mhm. Yeah. There's a page that I wish I could read, but I will burst into tears immediately. But just know it's page 165 for anyone who has a copy of the book.
Okay, wait, I also tagged that. I think I can do it without crying. Do you want
Okay,
me to
but
do it?
I'm
And
going to cry for sure.
okay, do you want me to do it or should we just let people?
No, do it.
Okay, I think I can do it. I'm going to try. that I knew you and I were going to have some pages the same. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. And I'm not surprised it's this one. Okay, listeners, give me a vote of confidence. Here we go. A pet is there with you a pet is there with you more than any friend, any family member, any significant other. They're present in all your most private moments when you can let your guard down and just be. They're there for every breathtaking cry and every mindless laugh as you watch your favorite TV show. They're there through every season, every dinner cooked, and every sleepless night. They're there, consistent and content. No questions asked, just happy to be standing next to you. It's something you're used to, something you might have taken for granted, and all of a sudden, their presence is zapped from your life so quickly and violently it leaves marks on every part of you. Yeah. Steph and I have both lost our soul animals. That paragraph, I think, is like the one source of truth of this book. It is, especially, I'm going to speak for you while you collect yourself. We're single. We've been single for a long time. And our pets are a huge part of our lives. And they are the love and companionship that we feel every single day. And when you lose that, it's a hole so deep, it's kind of hard to describe. Mm-hmm. And I think the only other people who understand it are the people who have lived it. And there is kind of a camaraderie we all have that we wish we didn't have. Mm-hmm. But I think when you are someone who has been a pet parent and you have someone in your life who goes through the loss, you just feel an immediate empathy like no other, because only people who have lived it know. That's the truth.
Yep. Oh, she has a way with words. I do think, so the thing that I'm not a lover of memoir, but the thing that excites me is usually flipping through to the picture section. And granted, she has such a big social media presence. Maybe she didn't think she needed to include photos, but I'm sure. No, but I want like the.
Oh, no, I just want those who are new to Isabel to see the gorgeous photo of her and Simon on the back.
Yes. I just wish there had been, like, on page 200, a little interlude where we got to see like all the Fosters she mentioned, or her with her girlfriends at the bars in their 20s, just like something to feel like we're getting a little bit more than we normally get on her social media. Do you know what I mean?
I think a photo section would have been awesome. I'm thinking to some of the celebrity memoirs that we've read, like Cher's memoir had an amazing photo section where you get, a peek inside in a way that feels like a gift to only the book readers, right? Because as you said, she already shares so much online, but being able to have that extra layer of, I'm letting you in. And she writes a lot about her childhood dog, Ruby. So like photos of that would have been amazing. I don't know if this is just like the cynical part of me, like who works in, marketing. I just wonder if they couldn't afford to put that kind of insert into the book, not knowing how it would sell. But jokes on them, because I know every pre-order that she did through every independent bookstore near her in Brooklyn sold out. And she showed all these amazing videos of her signing literally hundreds of books at a time. And she has a stamp of Simon's paw. So she signs and then they stamp. And at one point it was taking so long, she allowed Jacob to do the stamp, which I thought was like a very big moment of trust.
I made an end cap at our store to promo it.
I agree with you. A photo section would have been awesome. And I will say what excites me is she did a Ask Me Anything, question box the other day. And someone said, do you think you would ever write another book? And she wrote, absolutely yes. And I'm psyched, whether that will be more essays or whether that would be fiction. She's really talented.
She really is.
And I think the fact that we got to know her as this, foster mom turned dog mom turned animal advocate, we didn't even know like the depths of her writing talent. And as you said, her voiceovers have gotten very poetic, very poetic. And I think it's like her creativity seems to be firing on all cylinders in a way that's so cool to watch. Like I said, people always comment we made the right person famous, and I think that's just really true with her. It's so deserved. So Isabel, if you see this, congratulations. We're so proud of you. We loved your book. It destroyed us in the best way. And we hope that even if you are not a pet parent, but you've always kind of wanted to know what it's like to have that love in your life, that you'll give this a shot. It is
I
also, I should say, being adapted. I can't believe I forgot to say
I
that.
forgot about that. No, I just wanted to interject that even if you aren't a pet parent, but you struggled with dating the wrong people in your 20s, this book
Yes,
is for
so true.
you.
So true. To your point earlier about Sex and the City and how that sort of like made so many women of our age fall in love with New York, I think the adaptation that will happen of this book,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a series, not a movie. So we're going to get, I hope there's an episode for every boyfriend that she mentions. We're going to get to see all the girls' nights out and the, dating snafus and the, come to Jesus moments with her
Mm-hmm.
parents. And I'm excited for that because I think the experiences she shared are so universal
Mm-hmm.
and there's just so much richness. It's kind of, I think, going to be like Sex and the City meets Girls, like
Mm.
this unvarnished, total truth look at what it's like to go from your early 20s into your 30s in New York. And I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait.
Okay.
Isabel, we're super fans. Steph, what are you reading now?
I just finished Crash Into Me by Robin Lee, which I think this comes out the 7th, July
Okay.
7th. I could be wrong about that. Although by the time this airs, it will be
It will
out.
be out. It will be the
Okay.
same week. Yeah.
Okay. So if you've been following Plans Are Booked for a while, you know that we unnaturally adored the idea of you. Or maybe
We
just me.
sure did.
I should just speak for myself. I know Caitlin didn't love it.
We too.
Yeah.
The two of us.
But we had complicated feelings about the movie because it felt quite different from the book,
Right.
which happens. So this is Robin's second book, which it's been a while since
Yeah.
we've had something from her. This book, it's about a woman named Cecilia who is Jamaican born and grew up in New York. And we get flashbacks of her early 20s when she was struggling to become a photographer. So she was working as an assistant to like a well-known photographer, and we get flashes to 1996 on this one shoot in Cabo where we know something bad happened, not to her but to one of them. Well, maybe to her, but like there's notes of it happening to maybe one of the models that was on set who was young and impressionable. And then in present day, her husband, who is French, he's a director, and he uproots the family and moves them to LA for the duration of this shoot, which will take presumably like 2 years. And she hates it because she has fallen in love with France. She's been living there since her 20s. She's now in her 40s. Her kids have been growing up there, and suddenly they're thrown into like the white wealth of Hollywood. She's like the only Black woman in her group of moms. Her kids are doing lockdown drills in school, and she's like, what are we doing here?" And her husband is gone every day. He's off at shoots in other countries or coming back and working long hours in the studio. And she's kind of losing herself and her grip on like the family she thought she was creating. And then she runs into the woman who was the model on the 1996 shoot that she was a part of.
Okay.
And the woman doesn't seem to quite know who she is. So she doesn't outwardly like tell her. And they strike up a friendship that devolves into more of a relationship. So it's a story in two parts. It's present day, trying to figure out like, can you make this life in LA that you just so against everything that's happening? The Botox and the McMansions and just like superficial conversations, like all of it. And then, flashbacks to this shoot where she's starting to have feelings for this young woman, but she's also dealing with an ex-boyfriend who is slowly trying to break up with her while she's away. And it just reminded me like Robin is such a fantastic writer. She has such a way with words. I think I'm going to read you just a little tiny
Yeah,
piece.
please.
This is in Paris, March 2015. I wait before I call her because I do not want to seem too eager or enamored, and because deep down I fear she wants to discuss details of the Cabo shoot. Perhaps some suppressed memory returned to her. Perhaps it had never been lost. Perhaps she has questions that I am not willing to answer. And so, Tuesday evening, after officially accepting Cherry and Martin's offer of representation, I pour myself a glass of shit. San Emilion.
I don't know. Let's say that's correct.
Curl up on the daybed in the den, take a deep breath, and telephone Anouk. You are here, finally. You missed all the good parties. It takes me a second. Yes, March, Fashion Week. I have outgrown Fashion Week parties, or at least I want to believe I have. The primping and posturing, the angling for status, the endless parade of young flesh. In my youth, I found it all fascinating, the models and designers and artists and celebrities, the sturm and the drang of it all. I'd wanted in, but now it had become tedious, superficial. Every once in a while, Fran and I would venture out to make an appearance for publicity purposes. But given the choice, I'd just as happily stay home and roast a duck.
Oh my God. She is really funny, and I follow her on Instagram, and I love when she talks to the camera. She's a hoot, and it's so fun that comes through in the fiction writing.
Wait, let me read one more bit. That's funny. Okay, so in Hollywood or LA, she finds herself at these like ridiculous parties where they're like raising money for like Save the Elephants, and they're all in like ridiculous, the wealth is just astounding, and they're all white and Botoxed, and she's like, what am I doing here? Okay, so this is one of those parties. Minnie laughs and continues. Anyway, in Botswana, I met the extraordinary Gustav, whose organization targets the forest elephants in Central Africa, which are being poached in larger numbers than those of the savannas, and so are more endangered. Naturally, I told him I'd be honored to throw them a fundraiser. So without further ado, Gustav Nelson. Gustav appears to be no older than 30, and although he is confident and passionate about his work and his elephants, I can't help but feel slightly unsettled. Maybe it's his inorganic mid-Atlantic accent that I assume is covering for something. Maybe it's his man bun and beard. Maybe it's because he keeps referencing Africa's, quote, natural resources, unquote, and I can't help but think of its people, or the 6-carat ring on our host's finger, and wonder, what the actual fuck?
That's so good. I can't wait to read it. I love her, and I agree with you. The idea of you changed my brain chemistry, and so it's so fun when an author who you loved that much comes out with something new, which is actually a perfect segue into what I am reading now. I have 20 pages left. I was reading it up until we came on to this podcast because I am so enthralled. I cannot put it down. I am reading The Misconnection, which is the new book by Tia Williams. We read one of Tia's books 3 books ago, actually, called 7 Days in June, which I would say is in my top 10 love stories of all time. Mm-hmm. And then we read her next book, Love Song for Ricky Wilde, which was beautiful, but I didn't have the same deep connection to it. And then she came out with a YA book, and this is now the most recent one. I saw the cover reveal for this a few weeks ago and was like, oh yeah, like I can already tell the vibe of this is something I'm going to be interested in. The premise is that this woman, Sasha, is on a flight, and as we all dream of happening, she has an incredible several hours from New York to Paris next to a gorgeous Italian man.
Literally what I say to you every flight. I'm like, I hope you have a great seatmate.
Correct. Truly. So she somehow doesn't get his name and he doesn't get her name. So she just starts calling him Seat F because that's all she knows is his seat number, even though they talked for hours. So when she gets back from her trip and she's back in New York, she reconnects with a private investigator she had once hired and asks for his help to find Seat F. And a surprise to no one who has ever read a romance book, of course, while investigating, who does she fall in love with? The investigator himself. So the relationship between Sasha and Wes, the investigator, we were talking when we talked about Every Year After about sizzle. This book is the definition of the word sizzle. It is just constantly hot. The banter is amazing. The physical chemistry is amazing. The magnetism is off the charts. And they keep being like, no, we shouldn't. We're working together. And then, of course, they cross the line every time. I am in the final 20 pages in which I'm going to find out if they're actually going to get together and admit their intense feelings together, or if they're going to keep pretending like they've crossed this professional line and they shouldn't have. And there's like several miscommunications. I feel like usually romance books have one big miscommunication around 75% of the way in, and then it gets resolved. There have been so many miscommunications throughout this that you keep thinking, actually, no, they're not going to get together. But the writing is so sharp. It's so funny. And it's deeply New York. Deeply New York. Like, if you have spent any time in Manhattan or Brooklyn, you're going to be obsessed with this book. The descriptions are so spot on. Everything from the fashion to the architecture to the street food festivals. It is just, obviously, Tia lives in Brooklyn. It's obviously written by someone who lives there and is part of the living, breathing fabric of that neighborhood. It's amazing. And also, her cover art, I think this looks like her. I think this looks like Tia Williams, I mean. And I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if Sasha is inspired by anything that ever happened in her life, but I love that it sort of looks like her. Also, book aside, I am using a bookmark while reading this that Stephanie gave to me, and I feel that the listeners/viewers need to see what this is. We annotate our books so that we're able to go back and read specific passages, or when we share our books. Oh my God, yes. Okay, Stephanie's holding up the stickies that came in the blind date book that I got her while I was in Chicago. This is the bookmark that Stephanie gave me, which is loaded with sticky tabs. And it is amazing because when you get to a perfect passage, you don't have to go, oh shoot, where are my stickies? It's just right there. And everyone here in my family has noticed it and has inquired about my magical bookmark. So if you like to annotate, you've got to get a hold of one of these. It's just a joy for a reader who likes to, mark their favorite passages and revisit them. So Tia Williams, The Misconnection, cannot recommend enough. Okay, well, listeners, if you want to see the list of all the books that we mentioned today, please join us on Instagram. We are at Plans Are Booked. That's where we share every title we talk about during each episode. You can write to us at plansarebooked@gmail.com. If you prefer to watch in full instead of listen, we are also now on YouTube, so you can watch every episode on YouTube. We'd love if you would do that. And if you like what you heard today or any day that you've listened, we would be honored if you leave us a review, especially on Apple or Spotify. It really helps people find the show.
And until next time, our plans are booked.